Indian football is bleeding. The powers above have severed the artery and it's gushing like the Ganges. It's getting messy. This is a story that needs to be told, and I'll be travelling around the country to tell it, one club at a time. The story of Indian football, a country divided. What do you think of when you think of India? A journey in one of these, I bet. You think of all the people as well, don't you? That's because they're everywhere. People. Everywhere you look. Which means a ridiculous amount of traffic. It takes you ages to get anywhere. Here's another question for you. What do you think of when you think of Indian sport? You thought of cricket, didn't you? You thought of Sachin Tendulkar and Virat Kohli. That's who you thought of. And to be honest, I don't blame you. Because they love it here. They play it everywhere. In the parks, in the streets, everywhere. There's wickets falling wherever you look. What you don't see as often, on the streets of Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, is this. Kids playing football in the park, a few keepy-uppies here and there. It's not the done thing. You don't hear the stories of one of India's oldest football clubs, celebrating their 100th year, and one of the biggest rivalries in the world. You don't hear of the fairy tale story of the club from the Highlands, who shocked the country to claim domestic success, a year after being faced with relegation. You don't hear about the new kids on the block, who only formed 6 years ago, but have taken Indian and Asian football by storm. And you don't hear of those dedicated to following the national team, up and down the country and across the continent, speaking out against the authorities, and giving the fans a voice. Let's go on a journey, not just across this vast and diverse country, but also in time. See, Indian football goes way back, over 100 years. And midway through the last century, they were one of the best around. And when it comes to knowledge of Indian football, one man tops the rest. He's done it all.
I've been associated with Indian football for about 50 years. In the beginning as a player, but afterwards I moved on to writing, then moved on to commentary also, first radio.
See what I mean? Everything. And he knows his stuff too.
62 we were champions of Asia. India, the quality of players was so good. They were called the Brazil of Asia. The talk of the town was Indian football. Our problem was poor organization. Throughout the 50s, we played 70-minute football. Silly reasons that it's too hot.
But from the highs of the 50s and 60s, Indian football nosedived dramatically, going from the best in Asia to also-rans. In a footballing sense, they'd fallen off the map. But why?
Because we missed the 1950 World Cup. FIFA got very angry, justifiably. They didn't call us for, so we never played World Cup qualifiers.
Until
1985.
Wait, 35 years without a World Cup qualifier? Wow, didn't see that one coming. What a way to destroy a country's hopes.
85 we started again. And 50 we were invited. There were no qualifier. We were the best team in Asia. I feel it's such a major mistake. Because seen in hindsight, a newly independent country, this whole question, when will India play the World Cup, wouldn't have come. We would have played it in 1950. If we'd continued playing, there would have been a generation of players who've been to the World Cup, who would have learned from, say, Brazil, and football would have picked up.
But where football missed its chance, cricket grabbed theirs with both hands, winning the 1983 World Cup to grab the attention of the nation, as football slipped away. But in the past couple of decades, football's had a resurgence, with the National League established in the 1990s, now called the I-League. And here is where the issue lies. Not content with the I-League, IMG Reliance bankrolled a completely new division, the Indian Super League, in 2013. And rather than promote the existing clubs of India, 8 new franchises were created out of nowhere. No history, no tradition, nothing.
It's suddenly become a Kashmir or a Palestine. ISL, I-League, it's, you've reached points of no return. I squarely blame the All India Football Federation. How can you just decide 10 new clubs are going to be the premier club? In a country, 1.3 billion or whatever, 10 clubs, it's ridiculous. How can you support the whole of India? India's huge. There's no vision. So why make an agreement which destroys an existing legacy?
Good question, Novi. But a 7 billion rupee deal the All India Football Federation made with IMG in 2010 could go some way to answering it. This is Priyansh. He's also a journalist, and he's very outspoken on the subject.
You can't possibly have two different leagues, and especially leagues which experience very different financial realities. The financial interests of the ISL are being prioritized above whatever the I-League clubs do. This is not only an assault on what has been going on recently, but it's essentially an assault on the history of football. Where else in international football would you see the federation as a proxy for a corporate entity? They've come to see sport as inherently corporatized, which it is not. But football is not the game because somebody put money into it. Football is the game because people identify it, they know the players, they have a social network, they're part of a group, and so they are emotionally attached to it.
Talk about airing your dirty laundry in public. But this is a fight Indian football fans are determined to win, to show the world that sport and fandom is not something that can be manufactured. Calcutta, the former Indian capital, seen to many as the heart of Indian football, with two of the oldest and biggest teams in the country fighting out for local bragging rights, East Bengal and Mizoram.
Everything used to come to a standstill when these clubs played. They're one of the biggest derbies in the world. The Bengalis who had come in across from what is now Bangladesh, was then East Pakistan, were East Bengal supporters, and the traditional Bengalis were Mohun Bagan supporters.
But recently, one of the giants of the game has fallen.
East Bengal is one of India's best known clubs. The last time they won a league title was in 2003. It's been 16 years. And you're talking of one of India's biggest clubs that hasn't won the title for 16 years.
This hasn't stopped the fans being as boisterous as ever though. These guys were voted in the top 5 fan groups in Asia by Copper 90 recently. And as they celebrate the club's centenary year, you can see exactly why. Just listen to them. She's loving it too. It's a brave choice to host this event in the Mizoram side of town though. The bitter rivalry, as we're about to be told, is about more than just a 90-minute game.
I'm not sure, if the rest of the world has heard about the East Bengal and Mohun Bagan derby, which is the Calcutta derby, also known as the Fish derby. It's one of the biggest rivalries in Asia, if not the world, and we sell out for every game, and it's probably the biggest fixture in Indian football. And the rivalries are pretty strong in the sense that the rivalry goes back to over 100 years, and the rivalry is not just a sporting rivalry. It's more of ethnical rivalry. It's more to do with class struggle and migration and stuff like that. Something like Celtic and Rangers, like the Old Firm derby.
Is it not crazy to think that a club of this size and magnitude isn't allowed in the country's top division? The ISL has a rule of one city, one team. And with ATK, an ISL franchise in the city, things don't look like changing anytime soon. Oh yeah, one more thing. The ISL is a closed shop. No promotion, no relegation. So where's the incentive for anyone in Indian football anymore? If it wasn't for fans like these, Indian football would have died completely. And these are the very people who will lose out in the long run. So what's going to happen to teams like East Bengal? Will 100 years of history just go up in smoke? Bonds like these fans have with their team isn't something that can be formed overnight. It comes with tradition, history and memories. East Bengal fans are as vocal as any in their protest against the state of football in India. And for spending the night in their company, let me tell you, they won't be giving up without a fight. From one of the oldest clubs in the country, we head to one of the youngest in Bangalore. Established in 2013, Bengaluru FC have won a trophy in each of their 6 seasons, including both the I-League and the ISL. They set the standards across the country, as media manager Kanal will tell us.
We had an English coach called Ashley Westwood, who was a Manchester United Academy graduate, and he came and put everything in place. Everything was a fine. If you put on extra kilogram, it was a fine for the boys. You come late to training, fine. If you wear the wrong socks, fine. So everything was a fine. And this is something that clubs and players in India are not used to. Everyone soon saw the kind of results it started generating. It is there for everyone to see that Bangalore is the most professional club. So everything's done with a purpose. There's a plan behind everything. There's a blueprint behind everything. The players, the management, the owners, the fans, we're all tight, we're family.
And as one of only a handful of teams who have played in both divisions, Bengaluru are one of the best placed to compare the two.
Yeah, there is a lot of difference. Obviously, the quality of the foreign players that the teams bring in is definitely better. The ground conditions are much better. There's a nice little magic about the I-League too, because that makes it tougher. With all these circumstances that are not in your control. So they've both got their own charm, but the ISL has also brought a lot of professionalism and most importantly awareness in terms of broadcast, in terms of media. The I-League is so competitive and the teams are so, geographically far out that, travel becomes a problem and the typical away kind of problems you want to have, or you rather don't want to have in a league, but those you face in the I-League.
It's a tick in the box for the ISL, it seems. The fans that used to pack this stand week in, week out, the West Block Blues, are just happy to have a club to support.
Everyone was looking for a club, a club locally who they can support, because obviously now supporting a Liverpool or United is good, but you don't get to go watch them live every day, right? We were looking for something we can connect with in Bangalore, and when Bengaluru FC started, it was so, it was like a dream because they won the league in their first year, and that was something what connected with football-loving people in Bangalore. It's like, I love this club. It's like a family because it's so close to us. It makes us feel like it's home. It's what I think brings Bangalore together. It's like an identity of not only the club but of the city as well. And I think it's very important for Indian football.
And even with BFC's success, all Indian football fans appreciate their roots.
Teams like Mohun Bagan, East Bengal, they were brilliant. Like, they were history of Indian football, Seeing those clubs fall down now because of rules, because of few Indian football regulations is not great, because there are good players there as well. And if we want India to be there in to win AFC Champions, AFC Cup, or if you want India to be in the World Cup sometime, you have to improve football from the grassroots. Like, you have to have a unified league where you have promotion and relegation.
It looks plain for all to see that a unified league is the solution here. And it's the fans that are suffering as the powers that be tussle. Talking of fans, there's none better than the ones in West Block.
But West Block is something different, right? We want everyone to feel welcomed. People come here and they feel like they belong somewhere. It's like where everyone can be themselves. It's brilliant because there are a lot of people, who had depression in their lives, who faced difficulties. But a club like BFC, they help us, overcome that, I think that's what defines West Block. No matter what, we're there for each other, we're there for the club, and we're always, together.
Since filming, BFC were hit with a bombshell. They've been kicked out of their Kantirava stadium. It looks like they're moving to Pune, 850 kilometres away. Honestly, you couldn't make it up. Indian football finds a way to implode yet again. Sometimes, sport has a way of making you sit up and take notice, giving you the fairy tale stories that we all dream about. And up here in Mizoram, up in the mountains, this is where it took place. Not above the clouds, or under the clouds, but in the clouds.
Aizawl upset the apple cart. They were the Leicester City.
Aizawl was in a relegation fight the season before. They stayed up, and then they shocked everyone, went all the way. They could almost lost it, and they just somehow sneaked through on the final day.
In 2016, Aizawl FC became the first team from the northeast of India to win the I-League, and with it, a move to the ISL. But being run on a shoestring budget, a franchise fee of 150 million rupees to enter the ISL was well beyond their means, as fans Saya and Hamar tell us.
In terms of budget, we are only a minus. So for us to pay that 15 crore, it is impossible. It is not acceptable.
The champions of India is not able to play the top league of India. It's not fair. Why not just unite the two league?
Saya's definitely pulling no punches.
AFF already become the puppet of FSDL. So everything they made, every decision they made, it is an order from the FSDL itself. So they can't make decisions by themselves.
The Mizo people love football, with players spread far and wide at teams all over the country, which makes the outcome even harder to take.
We want to play in the top league. We don't want the AIFF to take away that opportunity from us, because as long as we play in the top league, we will keep producing. If we keep producing, then the benefit itself is gained by not just the club, but by the country also.
Look at these kids. This is what football's about. Enjoying yourself and having a chance of victory. But Aizawl weren't even given that chance, and quite possibly never will be.
It's not like we are asking for an automatic berth or automatic qualification. We are not asking for that. Let every club from every part of the country have a chance to get promoted to the top league of the country by way of merit. Money should not be the
Main factor,
key.
yeah.
Money should not be the key to get to the top league.
We earned that trophy, we didn't want that trophy. So football should be like that.
As it stands, Aizawl would never make the ISL. When a team has to pay an entrance fee 10 times their annual budget, it's not going to happen. Clubs like these are the ones left behind. They might not have loads of money, but they inspire a generation. In truth, India may never see another story like it.
Whenever I'm visiting this place, there's a lot of memories around here. About that championship, about the relegated season itself also. I love this place. It's a home for us.
On the other side of town, as you travel through the hillside, you come to this place, Lamal Stadium, known as the Wembley of Mizoram. Perched delicately between the centre of town and the mountainside, it's the place Mizo children dream of playing at. Here I meet Aizawl Technical Director Mingtana Zadeng, one of the men responsible for the miracle of Mizoram. And if you're wondering, no, I didn't take him up on the cigarette.
We born the Aizawl Football Club, which was defunct more than 10 years. It was way back in 2011. We are good in football. The Mizo people are good in football. The Mizo boys have a talent. We have the potential, but we don't have the club in the I-League. The policy, of course, we have is to promote the youngsters.
He gets football, Mingtana. He gets what it's all about. Everybody here does. And that is their key to success, not FSDL's millions.
Football should not be like that. Without money, we cannot survive. You, me, everybody cannot survive without money. But with a low budget, also we still can manage good clubs, a strong team. So yeah, it all depends on the management system.
You can't help but fall in love with this place. Isolated and self-reliant. And whatever happens, football will always come first.
Everybody works so hard, so let's see what will happen. Thank you so much.
Great, nice one.
Finally, we travelled to Gujarat, the birthplace of Mahatma Gandhi. And 150 years on from his birth, there's some more freedom fighters in town, the Blue Pilgrims. The national team fan group brings people from all over the country together. And they've been some of the most vocal in their protests against the authorities. And for that reason, they don't want to be named or have their faces seen, but just remembered for doing the right thing.
We have to advertise our culture, the culture and the community which surrounds the international team. So that is our objective. We don't really need to advertise football. We focus less on the football and more on the culture and the community and the love that we share for the game and within ourselves. That is more important. We try to create identity, because at the end of the day, identity is everything.
And at times like these, fan power is everything.
In India, we are not like Italy, or we are not like other countries where clubs are in a position to stand by themselves. We need fans to unite together to take this country's footballing spectrum to a different level.
And once again, it seems the fans are the ones talking sense. It seems a simple solution.
It kind of creates a divide between the fans as such. Ideally you should be having one league where all the big clubs and all the upcoming clubs should be playing together. Whenever we go abroad or whenever we talk to people from other countries, it's kind of a pain trying to explain to people why we have two leagues. It's kind of a pain. It's also kind of embarrassing, to be very honest. And if you ask the consensus, of all the fans in this country, they would just tell you that we want one league. We want one league with one TV rights and one structure which puts everybody on the same map.
But with these issues forever ongoing, how long can this last before both clubs and fans have had enough?
None of us know that whether this league is going to last or this league is going to die. Which club is going to last and which club is going to die. It's not good for the fans. It's definitely not good for football, and it just kind of alienates the fans. Just pushes them away from the game, which is detrimental for the game in itself.
And with the countries I was watching, they never miss the opportunity to protest.
All of this is happening because personal bodies in the federation or who are linked with the federation have their own interests involved. So we want to put up a banner which say that why does football not matter and why does money matter? We want to send out a message that money should not be the first thing that comes in a sport, because we are not in a position to talk of money when we don't have clubs which can sustain themselves for over a period of time. We have almost 26 clubs shutting down in the last 10 years, which is ridiculous for any country, and we're still stuck in this low-level equilibrium point when people are trying to tell us that what is happening is good for you, and that kind of brainwashing is not really helping Indian football, because people like us, we've been all over the world and we've seen what's happening.
It's a sad state of affairs, especially when the national team can't even half fill the stadiums they play in.
No captain in the world has to plead to his countrymen to come and watch the national team play. And for us, that was a very disheartening moment, because the AIFF, honestly, they don't really do any media publicity over any tournament that comes up. They should be, publicizing it a lot more, a lot earlier, but they don't do it. And for us as a fan group, that becomes very difficult, because we individually have to reach out to each and every fan in this country and ask them, please come and join us. And football fans around the country have an identity with Blue Pilgrims, and the fact that whether they are a part of Blue Pilgrims or not, they're part of Blue Pilgrims, they know about Blue Pilgrims, and the fact that they know is good for us, because we can't force them to come and join us. But what we know is that if we do our work honestly, and if we do our work in a way which rubs off well on these people, they will join us at some point of time.
As the journey comes to an end, what's next for Indian football? What will these guys have to look forward to? It's safe to say nobody knows at the moment. Clubs are even boycotting tournaments to make a stand, but a unified league still seems to be a pipe dream. But as long as the teams have fans, like Saya, like Varsha, like everyone at East Bengal and the Blue Pilgrims, they will still have hope. Hope that there will once again be a day where it's what happens on the pitch that matters. And if and when that day comes, that's the day that Indian football can progress.